Music to the noise, yeah, the mess we make. Machine Pun Kelly get caught in the fake. Facts and logic with a twist of chest. Strip it down to truth, yeah, forget the rest. Humor pulls the lies right out of the park. Look beyond the shadows, dissect the dark. Sparks of laughter fire up the night, bringing clarity where they blur the fight. Cut through the chaos, yeah, the tangled lies. Machine Pun Kelly with the set of clear eyes. Truths and jokes gonna rock this show. Step into light where the real facts glow.
And welcome to the Pun Show. We have a very special guest joining us today. I know her as Dr. Patsy. You know her as Resistance Kitty. She's done a lot of work on the Epstein files. She's here to correct me on some notions that I have, that the Epstein files are actually a deflection from the Epstein files. And my view, and I even put together a slideshow, which we may or may not actually end up getting into, but my view is that the Epstein files were selectively, still 3.5 million pages of selective release of things that don't condemn Trump, but that does not mean Trump didn't do anything illegal. It just means they didn't release evidence proving Trump did anything illegal outside of any of the affidavits that were in there. And the affidavits, you know, I think of like the 2020 elections where there were all these affidavits and Rudy Giuliani farting on what's her name and waving around the affidavits. Well, those, like, if I didn't consider those proofs, it would be logically inconsistent for me to consider this proof. So there's possibility that as some of those things are investigated, some of them could pan out into something. It's also possible that not every single one of them is true. There were a lot of those things that came out right before the 2016 election and right before the 2020 election. So there's just some reason to be skeptical. Like if there's a bunch of them from 2012 before he was ever into politics, then I might be more willing to believe that those are true.
There are.
I'm also not saying that I don't think any of the affidavits are true.
There were charges filed against Trump before or things filed against Trump before.
There were some before he okay, so this is why she is here to correct. I haven't had a chance to go into all that. The other thing that I've been wanting to discuss is there's this kind of false equivalence between Clinton and Trump because they were both president and or are president. And so Clinton is in the Epstein files and so is Trump. And so first of all, I would say anybody that did anything, you know, to rape children should be in jail. Like I'm not saying one did something wrong and the other didn't do something wrong. But I also think that Bill Clinton, his association with Epstein, as far as I can tell, is limited to some philanthropic activities in 2002 and 2003 when he went to Africa and some other parts of the world to help with AIDS and stuff. And all the flights that are associated with that, all the pictures, like the picture of the hot tub and stuff was like in a public swimming pool. It wasn't like this is some sort of thing. Some people think it was on Epstein's private island or something. So the Clinton's association with Epstein is just related to that, you know, those philanthropic endeavors and those philanthropic polls, as far as what I know. Then Trump's association with him was for 15 years they were besties while Epstein was in the peak of his child laundering corruption. And
Mhm.
Trump went to sex parties with him while he was doing that. So I think, like, again, I think if Clinton did anything illegal, he should go to prison, period, full stop, no justifications at all. If Trump did anything illegal, he should go to prison, full stop, nothing at all. But Clinton's association is not the same as Trump's association with Epstein.
Actually, you're wrong.
So
You
go
are
ahead
wrong.
and correct me on everything I said that's wrong.
Lots. So let's get started with, first and foremost, we need to start to listen to survivors and victims and believe
Definitely, I
them.
did forget to mention
That's
the
first.
victims are the number one most important thing. And that's why I think that, because right now, no victims have gotten any closer to justice. And that's why I think that they're a distraction. Sorry, go ahead now.
Okay. So a few things first and foremost, because I'm rather upset about how a lot of this is being handled and played. First and foremost, there is lots about Trump long before his election. There is so much that is bad for national security and what's been released. I can't even go into it. And that is really Tony's expertise. And Tony's the one that needs to talk about that end. My end is more logistical in nature in the work that we do with the Epstein Wiki. So let me share a little bit of do's and don'ts. First of all, there's a lot of fake stuff all over X being shared by various different accounts that are altering things. Like there was, I think, an email about Trump calling someone a booger or something along those lines. Fake. We have validated that that one is fake. We have validated that the picture of the chicken that looks like that they have tried to redact a dead baby was in fact
What's this?
was a picture of some chickens in the kitchen, and they redacted the square to make it look like there was a child's dead foot hanging out, sitting with this pictures of chicken.
So
and
they
what it
redacted a chicken to make it look like a baby?
no, I'm trying to let me finish.
Sorry.
What it is, explaining what it is. What we discovered it actually was a Photoshop by there's a professional photography artist who does a lot of Photoshop work with his pieces. And he had taken one of the people that had sex on Epstein Island and cut them out and put them in between these two chickens because he thought it looked like two chickens. And so instead of the DOJ just rejecting the parts that were like genitals, maybe, they redacted it in such a way that it looked like this little baby foot was a dead baby in
So,
this.
okay,
And that is
was the original. Okay, so I'm just that the photoshopped version or whatever that was in the Epstein files that way, and then DOJ redacted that part of it, or is it that
in the original files it was just a photograph of this photoshopped naked person in between the two chickens? Okay. The way that the DOJ reacted it made it look like there was a dead baby's foot in between two chickens about to be cooked.
Okay.
So when you're talking about the Epstein files, trying to distract from the Epstein files, that is one of the things they did in fact do to do that. The other thing that we are seeing is that the redaction was done in such a sloppy way that there's even child porn up on the files. And that's for starters. And they've redacted. I have been doing triage. I speak with many of the survivors now, and I have been helping out some of them emotionally because people are attacking them online because it's a little bit like they picked and choose which survivors they wanted to redact and whose didn't. They also did not they have whole sections of survivors' faces they didn't redact. There is the address and phone numbers of other survivors. So they did a sloppy, lousy job. We even got copies of what their protocol was for redaction. So that's a couple of things. The redaction's a mess. Secondly, let me finish.
Warehouse guy says Democrats are so evil. Democrats had nothing at all to do with what you're talking about, right?
So, no. Now, next set of items I need to say. Clinton is just as embedded as Trump. There is tons that they were absolutely friends and did things together. It appears to me, based on the data that I've been going through. And mind you, you're talking about almost 4 million pieces of documentation and evidence.
Mhm.
And each piece of evidence can be like, I have pieces of evidence that are 500 pages.
Mhm.
And there's only like half a dozen of us that are like working on going through them and kind of doing our initial scans for things. But let me say this. Even if 1% of the files are true, only 1% of what has been released so far, there are a number of men who need to be charged, including the president, including most of his cabinet, actually.
Wow.
Who are in there. Now, some
But
things
can I just ask this? The other 99% being released along with the 1%, is that like hiding the needle with the haystack?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I'm going to tell you the horrific things we've already seen. I can't imagine it getting much worse. And the people that are involved, the redaction, like they didn't clean up the metadata. So they've redacted names that we can pull off of the metadata and email addresses and stuff like that. Like they really did not do a good job. And so I would say, additionally, something else that they did is there's like one page, right? That all it has is like a couple of things written at the bottom, but it's the same page and they have it numbered on at least 300 pieces of evidence. So there's like 300 of these files and it's all just the same page. So they're buried. They also took all of the previous disclosures and kind of mixed it in with all these. So there's a lot of data in there that is redundant as well.
Oh.
The things we're seeing are absolutely horrific. There are lots of names that we have now. Lots of correspondence that is very suspect. Like Elon begging to get to go to one of his parties. We have emails
That
like
is
that.
such an Elon thing to do. I can just see
Like
him.
begging to
He wants to
practically
be one of the cool kids and rape
And he
children
didn't-
with all the
yeah.
other cool kids.
And it was clear Epstein didn't really like him. The more disturbing parts involve the fact that while Trump was president, Epstein was his wealth manager, was Putin's wealth manager.
Epstein was Putin's wealth manager.
Was until he died, Putin's wealth manager. Yes. And there was negotiations that went on between Putin and Epstein and the administration.
You're putting me on.
Ha 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 ha.
Pancho.
I had a great pun this morning. This morning I was listening to the news and I feel bad having this pun on here. Because it's too soon, but I don't know if you saw that I think it was Good Morning America.
Oh,
her mom is missing, and I was sitting here working and in the news and it said, and they went to her house and suspect foul play, and I blurted out impulsively because ADHD, wow, I guess they found chicken feathers everywhere.
Uh-oh.
The timing is bad.
Timing is bad. There's a Trump related chickening out joke in there too, but
yeah, exactly. So at any rate, going back to the files. So one of the things that I want to tell everybody is be careful who you follow online. You want to make sure that the people that you're following are journalists, proper investigators with a background, people that are with some a reputable Epstein focus group like the J World people, Epstein Wiki, the journalists that cover and have been covering for some time because we have the background there.
That are covering this specific story, like not just the news anchor of either MSNBC or Fox. I mean, like
they're barely touching the no.
They're not the ones like you sitting there reading through the
we're actually and there's enough in there that you don't have to actually there's not enough in there that you have to make stuff up. There's enough, like literally I have video up on Epstein Wiki of him directing Epstein directing a young girl, an underage girl, to be crawling on her hands and knees towards him. We have plenty of pictures. We now see him with children. We have lots of pictures of Epstein with children. Now, the most interesting thing that I have found thus far, and not surprising thing, in fact, I had to go into our team group chatting spot and say, I need you guys to validate me on this. I've been reading the correspondence with the FBI from 2006, right? Which is where the court system started, although we suspect there's actually sooner. There were complaints before that, like 1996, the farmers put in a complaint and so on. But 2006, when they finally started doing the arresting stuff, and the not only does the tone completely change between the FBI over the course of years and then drastically in 2025.
And change
but
way.
I'm going to explain.
Okay.
In tone and in directive and in what is actual evidence. So let me explain. We already know that there are tens of thousands of pieces of child pornography. Lots of it video, lots of it he made. We know this for facts. We have facts. We know this. Maxwell case, we know these things, right? But in a 2025 email exchange within the FBI, they state like, oh, there's only like so many and only 1% are actual child porn and none of them look like Epstein actually made. So when you take the FBI conversations and put them in a juxtaposition, very different. It's very clear what they're trying to do is make it so that you really can't charge anyone else in some of this process while burying us in this stuff.
That's kind of what I mean when I say is the Epstein files distracting us from the Epstein files. All the other stuff keeps us from not noticing, hey, we still don't have anybody being charged.
Well, and honestly, the most terrifying part isn't just that the sex trafficking ring is actually still going and that it went on for as long, is we have some serious national security stuff here. Like we have documentation where we know that Israel, it has extortion documents on Trump, and that they own Trump. We have, I mean, like there is so much national security stuff in there. It's terrifying.
Israel. Do they like co-own him, Putin in Israel? Is it like
kind of? it's
40
kind of, yeah, they kind of work together. There's a lot of pieces. Again, Anthony needs to come on the show and talk about those pieces. He's the one that does that end. Like everybody in our team kind of has different areas that they're working in. And Anthony is really,
I'd love to have him on.
yeah, he's really great at that piece. I'll say something to him when I get off of here to come on and kind of explain some of those pieces because they're kind of interesting. So one of the things, like I said, make sure that you're following people that are reputable. There's one going around about Hillary Clinton being pregnant in 2012. That's not what that was. Let me explain what that was. Because just putting shit out there without context is crazy. It doesn't tell you a whole lot. Lots of emails show us where he was actually trafficking to other people. And we have the names of some of those other people that he was trafficking to. This is an international thing, everything from France, London, Russia, Middle East, Ukraine. We do know that one of the sultans provided Trump with one of his daughters to have sexually. And we have some dialogue about that.
Say that again.
So there's a sultan that gave one of his daughters to Trump to have sex with.
So
one of his small children
had sex with one of the children of a sultan. Of what country? Do you know?
I believe this one would have been UAE. I need to double check that. I don't want to say 100%. I don't want to say 100%.
Because he's got all these business arrangements.
Oh yeah, heavy with Qatar. There's so much. Saudi Arabia. Epstein owned a piece of this religious shroud. That the only place you can get a piece of it is actually from the king of Saudi Arabia. So MBS is involved. Like this is the scarier piece. So we're dealing with multiple governments. It looks like that someone in the Swedish royals may have gotten pregnant by Epstein and had to have an abortion.
Oh wow.
I'm trying to think what else. We have there are lots of journals from survivors when they were young. Many of them written in code, and we've managed to decode some of them, and the stuff is just horrific. I found documentation of some of the girls getting their eggs frozen. I mean, this goes way beyond just sex trafficking is what I'm telling you.
There's 3 words that come to mind with this. Global deep state. Like the things Trump is always ranting about, based on what you're saying, he is deeply entrenched in. Like all of this stuff.
You can kind of see they used
QAnon.
They used proxies to communicate. Trump and Epstein after Trump was going to start running for office, they started to use, because it was in 2016 when both he and Epstein were again charged for sex trafficking, and then the cases were dropped because of the death threats and the dangers that the witnesses felt they were in. So, and again, I don't want to focus this just on Trump. Just he happens to be our president. Like we've already seen 2 resignations, one in Slovakia, I believe, and one in the UK, of 2 people that were part of the Epstein files, and that it's come out. I will say also, I'm trying to think there was something else that was significant about that. There is a lot more about the royals. We have lots more pictures of Andrew in flagrante, what's the word I'm looking for? Flagrante in inappropriate positions, I would say.
Oh, okay.
And
I
for any of you that are like, I'm hearing all this lying, they're up on the they're up there. Read them for yourself. Like, if I'm lying, prove it. Like, you can go on there and pull these documents down. Oh, that was the other thing. Once we pulled and started posting a bunch of the documents online, the DOJ started pulling them down. There were quite a few that they pulled down, some of them naming several members of the Trump family. So let's see, I'm trying to think what else that was significant that we've had, because we've been buried in them for like 36 hours, barely sleep, mostly eating pizzas and things you can slide under a door. We got to see a picture of the sweetheart deal that Epstein got in Florida. The Bidens are not mentioned in it at all. There really isn't any mention of the Bidens at all. Hunter was not part of it. He was one of the first things that I put in there. Originally, I didn't think I found Bill Cosby, but one of my teammates was able to find Bill Cosby mentioned in there. And again, just because you're mentioned doesn't mean you're necessarily doing the sex act things. That's where the investigation comes in, where we have to compare
on that. Like, being on the airplane doesn't mean you did anything, and not being on the airplane or the island, if I understand correctly, most of the abuse happened in his homes, not on the island or in the airplane.
Well, yeah. So in Paris, there was an apartment in Paris where they happened at. The ranch, there's a lot with the ranch. In fact, I'm here in New Mexico right now, and I've been trying to figure out, like, reach the owners, and I'm going to go try and tour the ranch this week. Zorro was there's a lot happening with Zorro. And it's out in the middle of nowhere, so it'd be a perfect place for that. New York City and his apartments in New York City, lots of hotels, a lot of things happen in hotels. Things happened at like Davos, and he brought girls, to certain conferences. Like, Davos is kind of like Epstein Island in Switzerland, so there was a lot of delivering of them. And so that kind of thing. And again, all of this is substantiated with not just testimony, but we actually have receipts, like physical money receipts, and the plane rides and phone conversations and GPS data. And you can kind of see some of the things that I'm working hard.
Some people will say, this person has never been to Epstein Island, therefore he couldn't have done anything wrong. And it's like,
I would say the least amount of stuff happened on Epstein Island. St. Bart's, they always brought people to the St. Bart's events over the week of Christmas, where the rich people go. Okay. Elon Musk's daughter did confirm this and even discussed her experience with it online.
His transgender daughter?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that made him even happier.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime that Elon Musk is unhappy, that makes me happy.
Oh yeah, and X is doing their part to really contribute to, like, they keep posting him begging to go to one of his parties. That's like the greatest, like, most Elon thing ever. So I see how many people are running around saying I'm lying. Again, please go look. So some of the things that I'm trying to prioritize. Hold on. Let me finish my thought. One of the things that I am trying to prioritize getting up onto the Epstein Wiki, because we've got like a 3-step process. Right. So the first thing I do is, like, we do a giant scan to kind of see what seems pertinent and important and would give us the most data. For example, testimonies, and like reports from the FBI. So those are the things that I'm going to be prioritizing putting up there, as well as some of the pictures and the emails Then in the next step, we go in and put our next set of like articles in where we're creating connections and timelines and stuff. And then finally, we'll take on and put some of the things that are evidence, but maybe not as significant as some of these other pieces. So it's a marathon, not a sprint. So if you go on to the wiki, you can see, okay, well, these were the first couple of items that I'm just today starting to put things up there because we spent the weekend kind of going through and trying to prioritize what things needed to go on. So the Hillary thing, she wasn't pregnant. It just happens to be that the former prime minister of Israel sent Epstein a joke about them, about Hillary being pregnant. And basically it was, you know, Hillary called, found out she was pregnant, called Bill up, said to Bill, I'm pregnant. I hate you. How could you do this to me? Bill didn't say anything. She said, why are you quiet? Bill says, who is this? But right. But online, all you're seeing is that nobody ever posts the punchline. Also, don't necessarily believe any memes or any of the evidence that's marked up. And make sure that you're following people who actually either post the link directly to where they came from on the DOJ, or that they put the evidence number. And so that you can double check that evidence number and see, is this true or is this out of context? That evidence number is the key to know what's what.
And it's worth taking the time to check because people
can really is. It really is. I mean, like, you know, yesterday I was all excited about the booger comment, and then I realized, oh shit, that was fake, you know, and I go, I'm sorry. You know, we all are making a mistake because we're all excited and looking for interesting stuff. Taylor Swift is not in the Epstein files. I want to put that out there. Our Tay, neither is her fiance. Some of the people we were listing, people that were not in the Epstein files yesterday. For sure. My fascination, mostly like my part in it, is I want my survivors to be safe and I want justice. But the other piece is as a psychologist, I'm kind of creating a dossier in my mind about him and like profiling. So I spend a lot of time in the little things, like reading the articles he's reading the readings he's reading, looking at the way he's responding, looking, when is he careful with punctuation? When is he not? Who is he warmer with in his conversations? Like, so to me, I'm looking at those pieces. So I'm a little bit kind of over on this end of it because I'd done so much work with kink in the kink community and sadism. So that's kind of my area.
Well, you mean
because I'm sorry?
Professionally, you've done.
Yeah. As a sex therapist. Yeah. That was kind of my, one of my areas of expertise.
Do you want to tell just?
Yeah, you can read it. I can sit here in the chat and I can send you the I'm not sure if they're wanting so if you just want the raw data, you go to, hold on, I'm going to get you the Department of Justice link and share it.
All the links are available at epsteinwiki.com, right? Like
all the links are available at epsteinwiki.com, but if they don't want
that link is in the description if you're on YouTube.
So I'm here sharing there that is the vault for which you're going to get them. A couple of things that I will warn you about. There's a lot of people on there and they do a lot of the removal. The search function is not functional. It's not very good. And like you can't do wildcard searches and things. So we prefer using some of the folks like J.World and I believe it was The Guardian that has their own database also and we've done the same thing. Mine is just in a private space for no one to access right now because we're then going to duplicate it and put one in a safe deposit box. So that's a whole other ball of wax. But That because and they did that on purpose too. They make the search function not good. So it used to be that you had to like press a space and then put Trump's name to be able to pull up the files with Trump's name, but it doesn't analyze handwriting, and there's just a lot with it. So the J World people do a really good job searching. What Epstein Wiki actually does on our end is, rather than just the bulk documents being a searchable database, which is what most of these other resistors and other supporters are doing, ours, we actually are putting documents up and then explaining them. Where did they come from? Where is the link to this? Here you can see our sources for this other piece. And so what we're trying to do is offer the context and explain, so that you don't have to read every single piece of the lawsuit claims. We've got a nice summary. This is what this says. Although we encourage you to do your own reading, most people don't have the time to actually go and read, I don't know, 4 or 5 million documents, right?
Right.
So that's why
that's why I need you to explain. And there's a lot of people that are like, oh, that seem to be like, no, don't tell me something I don't want to hear. Like in the comment section, there's a whole bunch of comments. I've started some comments that we can go over with you once you're, got said everything you want to say. But there's a lot of people that just seem to reflect.
There is absolutely something I have to say, and I have to say on the show, and I'm very angry about it. Like I want you to visualize me using my normal foul language when I explain this. But one of the things that's really upsetting is because they've been sloppy about the survivors and listing the survivors' names and not redacting them from some of the interaction online, there are people going out and attacking the survivors and calling them liars and whatever. And I want to explain to people something, and that is there are 3 responses to trauma. There is fight, there is flight, and there is fawn. And these girls learned real quickly that fighting didn't work, because fighting gets you killed or gets you, at least your family, threatened. And disappearing was almost impossible, and every survivor tried to disappear. And I have talked to numerous of them, and he always managed to find them. But the safest thing that these girls, the safest tool they had was called fawning. So one of the things and what fawning is you go along and you play nice until you can get the F out and away. So one of the things that they are criticizing is that there is a survivor who was assaulted like around between 2000 and 2003. Okay. And in like 2015, he happened to be in her area and like reached out to her and wanted to see her. And so she's like, oh, okay. Yeah, let me see what I can do. And so she did what she was told. Because remember, this girl was told she would die and her family would die. Okay. So she did what she was told and met up with him.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a follow-up email that he sent later and said, oh, it was great to see, that they engaged. This is called fawning. She also then, after, threw up, got drunk, hid, was a hot mess for a long time after, out of fear. So anybody attacking the survivors, you're monetized. So I don't get to say and do the things, but just understand that if I catch you doing it, you will be sorry. So we don't attack survivors whether you believe them or not. You don't know. You don't know what it's like.
And you actually have worked with some of these survivors who have been exposed, right? And
yes, this is yes.
Like,
yes,
this is
since
not hypothetical to you. This is personal.
This is real. I literally had to spend an hour today with several survivors to try and talk them off the ledge over all of this bullshit. And why is it that the only person that's been convicted of anything is a woman? And then we're on there attacking women. I'm not hearing anybody running around saying, oh, well, maybe, blah, 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 blah. Oh, I see MAGA attack Clinton.
I see a lot of.
I don't see you attacking Richard Branson. I don't see you attacking Sergey
I see people
over at
attacking
Google.
you
I don't see.
personally based on your gender, like in the
Absolutely.
comments. So many of the rebuttals are just based
This
on
just
you being
says to me, you know what? This just says to me, these are unsafe people. These are unsafe people.
Okay. So do you want to go? I've starred some of the comments. We've gotten a lot of comments.
I'm sure.
I've some of the ones that are just I filtered out some of them that and tried to at least get some that actually have like either some kind of valid concern or at least a valid answer. So somebody says, I'm confused about the fact in 2009, attorney Edwards' lawyer for Epstein survivors stated Trump was only one who provided info against Epstein to help survivors. Why no mention of this? Do you know what he's talking about? The Epstein lawyer that there was
I'm confused about that. A lawyer for Epstein survivors stated Trump was the only one who provided info against Epstein. I have not seen that. That is not something that I have personally read through that documentation, but I'll make a note of that. That is not. I'm being perfectly honest. I'm not avoiding. It can absolutely be true. It can absolutely. I need to go and look at that documentation. So I'm sure you respect that, right?
They were appealing. Some of the victims were appealing the plea deal that was just way too friendly, and so they didn't feel like they got justice, so they were appealing that conviction to get more out of it. So they went and they asked a bunch of lawyers about it, or they asked a bunch of people involved in it. Trump is the only one that they talked to that actually gave them any testimony that was beneficial. But the way that
that's not what the evidence shows.
If he had testimony that was beneficial, then that means he knew something. Right? So if he knew something, did he forget it since then? Why isn't he giving that information now? Why is he pretending like he knew nothing? Like if the attorney says he gave information that was helpful, what is that information? I would love to know what he said. Why isn't he saying the same thing now? You're admitting that Trump knew something. Like that's what that is. Like it's like trying to make it sound like he didn't know anything. But he obviously knew something. Even the attorney for the victim said Trump knew something. That's the way I look at that.
But I will go double check that. But I have zero evidence in the files that I have read of the 2006 case that shows Trump saying anything to them.
Yeah, no, this was to the victim's defense or the victim's attorney that was appealing the decision. So it wouldn't be it had nothing to do with the FBI investigation. It was this separate thing so that wouldn't necessarily.
Yes, it would, because in the files, as part of all of that are the appeals documentations and the things that they talk about there. Yeah.
So why would that lawyer, anyway, wonder why that lawyer, because the lawyer said something. I wonder, Donald Trump has also been notorious for planting news stories. But if it's true, it's not necessarily in his favor. How can the FBI have these files that would mean they knew and nothing done?
Well, that's actually not true. So after the plea deal, once the plea deal happened, thanks Acosta, thanks Pam Bondi, okay, then new complaints started to come out, and then they started to open investigations. And the majority of the investigations ended up in settlements, so they would get dropped. And like we know that there's at least 25 of those types of settlements. Additionally, they were doing intensive investigating even after he died. Like they had started the whole Maxwell thing. Maxwell got convicted, and then they had a whole bunch of other conspirators that they were getting ready to charge and were investigating, but then Trump got elected and his DOJ ended all of those investigations and said there's nothing to see here. And we have the documentation of that in the Epstein files under the Freedom of Information Act. So they were trying.
I think this is a question pre-show. You had mentioned something that is helpful. They need more, because I didn't know about that either. They need more evidence because they're not going to do anything. That's what I was saying. It's and Bonnie's not going to investigate anything. But you were mentioning something about there were local, like state investigations that are being launched because of what's been released.
So part of the goal of Epstein Wiki is for us to put the pieces together to be able to hand over to investigators when we have our when we have the freedom to be able to have a just DOJ. And we have people from all over the world working on this. Let me tell you, we've got detectives, librarians, lawyers,
don't piss off the librarian.
professors at like Ivy League universities. So like we're smart people working on this. Okay. New Mexico is actually considering reopening some of these cases. So my one of my goals is to reach out to them and say, here's what we're working on. Here's the things we're putting together. We want to give you whatever might be helpful for your investigation. So some of the states can start to reopen some of these cases as we find the documentation that, oh my gosh. And it really, and internationally, Interpol should be doing something with this, because we're talking Israel, France, Spain, Italy, Greece, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, the Netherlands, Russia, Canada, Australia.
Is anybody connected with the Nobel Prize involved?
No. Not that I've seen yet outside of the royals. It's mostly royals in Sweden.
That's why you can't win.
So
if they were involved, he probably would have gotten it.
Right.
So somebody else, Kelly, they need more evidence because they're not going to do anything about it all. Oh, wait.
Well, actually, they've got the evidence. You don't realize they had everything they needed to prosecute Epstein. Everything. They had an impeccable, impenetrable case. And there's enough out there now that if we never saw another record, that you could definitely charge some folks in here with certain things.
It's hard to believe we would know 1,000 victims and not know a single client.
More than 1,000.
Like there's got to be, you can't traffic only women without trafficking them to someone.
Well, and there's their other myth that wasn't just women.
And boys, right?
There were lots of men. In fact, the
boys and girls. I shouldn't have said women.
Humans.
Yeah, there were children. There were children. That's my. They weren't, like when you say women and men, it makes people think of adults.
But they were trafficking children.
Yes.
Let's just call it what it is. They traffic children, because once they got about 21, 22, that was considered ancient and they aged out.
Yeah.
They even joked about it.
And so Trump's famous quote, he likes them young or something. Okay. It is horrific, but like you just said, there is not enough evidence.
No, there is. Please go. I again would ask you, first and foremost, the cases. This is powerful and big enough that if they did not, there is no way they would have arrested Epstein. It never would have happened.
That's pretty true, right? And they never would have gotten
It is open and shut. The grand jury information is in there if you want to read it with the evidence.
So this one, Epstein didn't like Trump because he knew Trump ratted him out. Is it true?
That is not true.
Epstein?
That's not true.
Is there any evidence at all that he did so?
Not that we have found. Anthony may have something different. I just pinged him to see if he was free to maybe go on the Machine Pun Kelly show today. So yeah. So there's that piece. Those things aren't true. Actually, we now have documentation of Trump actually partying with Epstein. And
beyond the famous GIF where he's at the Playboy Mansion party or whatever that is.
And
like not just that one that everybody already knows about. There's other stuff where he's partying with Epstein. Like there's the famous GIF that goes around where like he's partying at the Playboy Mansion and he's in but that's not the only footage of him partying with Epstein, is what you're saying.
No, there's so much. So much.
So somebody, this is a common thing that I think you want to address. How many pages that Biden administration released? First of all, didn't Biden release a whole bunch of basically everything he legally
there is correspondence with the between the FBI that you can find. I believe it's data set 10 or 11, where you can find the interactions with the FBI and the DOJ about redacting files for their release, because they very much wanted to release what they could. But again, I need to remind you that when Biden was in office, they still had many investigations involved with the Epstein files going on with co-conspirators. And they could not release all of that data because of that.
So my understanding is, in a nutshell, they basically released everything they legally could. Then after the Maxwell appeal was buried forever, then it was possible to release, and it literally took an act of Congress to make it so that it could be released. So, I mean, it's not like Biden ever resisted them being released. But because there was grand jury testimony involved and there was open appeals cases, he just legally couldn't. Or that Epstein really even, or that Biden even really, I searched for a public comment and I asked a couple of AIs if he ever made any. As far as I can tell, he never made a single public comment on releasing the Epstein files, because Biden, unlike Trump, was actually separate from the DOJ. And no, in MAGA world, Biden was sitting there personally sicking the DOJ on Donald Trump. Donald Trump was just committing crimes and getting
and has been since the 70s. And I mean, we had hearings in the 70s about his stuff, his shenanigans.
So Epstein and Maxwell both said that Trump never went to the island or to the parties. Say something.
First and foremost, Maxwell is afraid of being murdered because she wouldn't be the first to keep things. Additionally,
government-assisted suicide.
I am just saying, I read the autopsy report last night, and it's pretty clear you don't get defensive wounds for committing suicide. So wait, put the last comment back on. I wanted to finish processing that. Epstein and Maxwell both said Trump never went to the island. Well, first and foremost, Epstein never said never said that he didn't go to the island. That never happened. Maxwell, Trump said he's never been to the island. Maxwell is afraid of being murdered and also wants a pardon. And so you can't really believe anything that Maxwell says. In fact, we have, again, the interview she did with Blanche, and then her testimonies, which contradict one another, and contradict the evidence that we actually have. So, additionally, most of the crimes didn't happen on the island. Some crimes happen on the island, but most of them happened New Mexico, Paris, Palm Beach, New York.
Palm Beach is how far away was his residence from Trump's? From
0.8 miles.
And didn't he also like recruit some of the women from Mar-a-Lago? Like this is like I don't.
And Mar-a-Lago used to send girls on house calls.
Yes.
And then stop sending them and now I will say Trump did stop sending them to house calls with Epstein because girls kept coming back very unhappy having to be pressured into sex.
So, and somebody else said they don't care. They just want to see Trump's name. They won't bother anyone on the list, as we have both stipulated many, many times. Our objective is that the victims get justice. If Donald Trump did not do anything illegal, then he shouldn't be prosecuted. If Bill Clinton did something illegal, he should be prosecuted. I don't care who it is, but everyone who raped children belongs in prison.
And hold on, not just the ones who raped them, but the ones who helped enable it. Yes. Like the pilots, the house staff, all of them should have charges. Michael Wolff should be brought up on charges.
I don't know if that would make Trump happy or not.
Well, I think he should, because he's known about all of this stuff that was going on for more than a decade.
So somebody says you're trying to influence voters that Trump was 100% involved with Epstein's Island and child crimes. He's suing many people to this false information.
Sue me, motherfucker. Bring it on. I can't wait for Discovery because I want your motherfucking flight records. That's what I have to say about that.
I am trying to listen. I'm trying to listen, but the way, see, this is what I mean when I was talking about, like, I don't want to put too many of them, but a lot of these comments are just misogynistic. Like your facial expression means you're wrong but you know, like I don't see how anybody could possibly ever look at somebody like what's his name, Nutlicker. Are
you talking about Couch Bopper?
No, Lutnick.
Lutnick.
He's single.
Oh yeah. He came out in the press
and Mike Johnson, and he's going to sit there and talk about smug.
So Lutnick, let me tell you about Lutnick. Remember when he did that whole interview about how he went to Epstein's house one time and he was never near him and it was gross and he knew he was a creep and blah 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 blah. Huh. I got evidence of him going to the island and going to parties. It's in the Epstein files. So this is going to be interesting. I have to run. I'll be back in an hour or so.
Okay. Thanks for dropping in. If Anthony wants to just send him the link, and if somebody pops in named Anthony, I'll just put him on.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So while she's gone, I'll just keep going through some of the comments here and respond. I am trying to, she's got a job and she's a therapist and she's got an appointment. I'm trying to okay. Where can I see this evidence for myself? I think she answered that. So we'll just move on. But Epstein Wiki, the link is in the description on YouTube. But no, that's not her only proof. Her only proof is in the actual Epstein files. Just please don't just deny something simply because you don't know it's true. I get this a lot. I see a lot of these kind of comments. Like if somebody says something that MAGAs don't know, then they're lying. It's not that they know something MAGAs don't know. It's possible there are things happening in this universe that you are unaware of. So Mike says, don't listen to the bots and brainwash people. I set this one aside for her, but she had to leave. But thanks for the encouragement, because I think sometimes it's easy to just get sandbagged by all the MAGAs and naysayers. This was funny. I put this one, wanted to post this one because it's funny. George Soros framed Bill Cosby to make America look good. This right here, I did not know that you were watching. This is, I know this person quite well. I am married to her. My wife is watching, and I didn't even realize. Wow, amazing. All these things that you have collected. Thank you for doing such important work. Okay, so now let's, I think she was looking at the Epstein wiki. So, okay. I don't know what, at least this one has eyebrows. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. We can at least get the files that aren't redacted. And it's, when you have so much that's redacted and so much that's not released, like half the files haven't been released. And then like a good chunk of what's been released is redacted. So we don't know what information they're holding on to. So it's like when people say there's no evidence. That's what I mean when I say, don't let the Epstein files distract you from the Epstein files. It's the stuff that that hasn't been released. Like if they could, release all this other stuff that, I think of it like, like these TV shows where they go to rob the house, or they're going to break into the house. And so they bring these raw steaks with them, and they throw the steak, and the watchdog goes to chase the steak while they rob the house. I think of a lot of this as being something like that, where all the, like they even have a spreadsheet just for people to go and look at the Trump stuff because people want to get distracted by the Trump stuff. They released like a whole cache just reloaded just about Clinton so that people could get distracted by that. And you get distracted by some stuff and fixated on that, and then you're not paying attention to what's not happening. And what's not happening is there's been 0 indictments of abusers. Sasha Riley, there is a Substack of someone that interviewed Sasha Riley that I was looking at, that they're calling into question the authenticity of the whole Sasha Riley thing. I don't have the link to it available, but there are some, like they doc, and this is somebody that actually I think was the initial person to report it, and they want to believe it, but there's some stories to that, or some contradictions to that story, that I'm not ready to jump on that. And I think this is one of the reasons we have to be careful about what we jump on, because the first time that we get all over a story that's not valid, then we invalidate all the things against Trump. Because then it's just like every time there's a black victim of a crime now, it's like they talk about Jussie Smollett, or Jussie whatever, what is the name? Jussie Smollett. That's who I'm thinking of. Every time there's like a black victim of a crime, then they just yell about Jussie Smollett. Yeah, we can count on one thing from the DOJ. They will release files from here and there, but they won't release that they don't want to release. Yes, and that's comment was from 15 minutes ago, but it's exactly pertinent to what I'm just saying. We don't know what we don't know, and we're all chasing down the stuff that's there. And I think Patsy made a really good point, or Resistance Kitty. Even if only 1% of it is true, That's still a lot of true stuff. It's just, you know, um, and I think that the way and the means that a lot of this stuff got released just kind of jumbled together and unorganized, and I think it was deliberately sloppy to keep us from being able to zero in on what is actually real. You want it to not be true. Some of it, I think, yeah, that there's some people that just are going to believe what they want to believe and not believe what they don't want to believe. And, I think it's going to be determined by their political persuasion. We should be determined by what the facts are. No, I believe invading Greenland and Canada is a distraction from the list. Well, you can have more than one distraction. I don't understand why people have to go misogynist on this. She has the biggest nerve. I don't even. Yes, because she's smiling and she's smug or what. I mean, it's just weird. She wasn't even smiling or smug. No one likes Trump. He's a useful idiot and a dirtbag. It's not necessarily, the whole conversation is not necessarily about Trump. It's about the Epstein files. It's about Jeffrey Epstein's trafficking ring, and it's about his victims. And it's like, if this is my view is until people are being prosecuted, then we have not gotten to where we want. I don't care if it's Trump. I don't care if it's Clinton. What I do care about is that the actual perpetrators are prosecuted. I heard of people that have gone to prison for far less than what's in these Epstein files. In a small town, they would have been tried in the court of public opinion before they even made it to trial. There would be. It's one of those things where there is so much that it's almost like there's nothing. Like, it's just easier to dismiss everything than accept that all of this can be true. I don't think she knows nothing. That's the problem. You're just rejecting what she is saying because you don't know it, not because she doesn't know it. And who gives a poop considering he's the president of the United States now? Well, I do. I tend to prefer presidents of the United States that haven't raped children. Well, you try and expose the truth. You try to talk about it until it comes to light. And if he didn't do anything, that's fine too. Then exonerate him. But I deliberately in the title did not mention Trump. I did not mention Trump in the description. This conversation is not about Trump. This conversation is about the Epstein files. That the Dems do so they can take out the... No. Why do you... If somebody says prosecute everybody in the Epstein files, why do you assume I'm talking about Trump? Do you think he's in the Epstein file? Do you think... Can you just agree that everybody that's in the Epstein files or everybody that raped girls should go to jail? Can you just agree with that? Because I never said Trump raped little girls or that Trump did anything with the Epstein files. Same, and I never said Clinton didn't. I just said everybody who is there that is proven to be involved should go to jail. That's it. And I don't have any problem with that. And that's not because I'm a Democrat. That's because I am a human being, and B, I am also a victim of sex abuse when I was a child. So I take this very seriously. And I wish that you would. You're the one that makes it political when you try to just make it about the Dems trying to get Trump. Okay, that's crazy. What if he was on a video throwing people into a meat grinder, you'd still say, I guess we got to let him go. He's in charge. It's almost like, but and then it'd just be, oh, they're just trying to get Trump. Who cares if he threw people into a meat grinder? I don't really think I'm important. I wish I were more important, but I don't actually think I'm important. If anything, these disgusting things were going on and they were, and it was, through from at least Clinton, I think, was the president in 96, and then Bush, and then Obama, and then Trump. It was, Biden didn't do anything. But across presidents, they all ignored it. But to be fair, it's not like FBI was giving Bill Clinton or George Bush or even Barack Obama. Maybe, I don't know about Obama. With Obama, it had already been prosecuted. The only one that was actually president at any time that might have had a discussion about the FBI with it was Bush. Not everything goes all the way up to the president. I've seen people go to prison for far less. There's pictures. There's multiple accusations. There's decades of email. Yet you'd think that there should be enough that there was at least some more follow-up. Like, they say, well, these are just allegations. And it's like, why did you not investigate these allegations? You've got thousands of these allegations that are pretty much saying the same thing. Why didn't you investigate? And, this is why I was saying, I don't think Pam Bondi is going to be like, oh, we really should have investigated this, and she's going to start investigating. That's also why I think that Kitty brings up a really good point when she says that, the states could start investigating this, because then Pam Bondi and Donald Trump and all of those people, they can't do anything about that. And now they can look and say, this happened in my state. I'm going to investigate this. So maybe then we can start getting some clients being prosecuted by the states, and that can turn up the heat on Pam Bondi. Why is Arizona prosecuting this and you're not? On video partying with someone and throwing people into a meat grinder too. Yes, they are. I don't think that he was trying to equivocate those two things. I think he was using it as a hyperbolic rhetorical device. That no matter what, like, you're like saying, well, raping children isn't as bad as throwing people into the meat grinder, therefore, but if you're at a party where where children are being sexually abused, and there's video of that, that should be bad enough on its own. So yes, the hyperbolic elevation of, yeah, if he was throwing people into a meat grinder kind of makes a point. You really believe Americans will allow a king wannabe dictator to become president again? Well, they did, but I think that the whole 2028 talk is nonsense. Trump is your God, not mine. She's already perjured herself. Maxwell? Yeah, the questions about, well, Maxwell said this. Oh, yes. She said stuff that got her sent to a minimum security prison and, like basically prison country club, where she gets to have puppies and rainbows and stuff. So the and she had been, a proven perjurer even before that. So when she says that Trump never went to Epstein Island, I'm not going to put any faith in that. I'm not saying that means he went to Epstein Island. It just means her declaration that he didn't means nothing to me. Just like anything that Pam Bondi ever says at all doesn't mean anything to me, because she's just a proven established liar. Okay. Why are you so quick to defend? All right, Betty Veronica, don't forget Mar-a-Lago. And I just think I've mentioned this before, But Betty Veronica is one of my favorite usernames. Period. I love that username. I was a big Archie fans comic. I don't know if you're from the TV show, if you got it from there, but I loved that comic books when I was like a teen. I was a Betty man myself. These two better pray that ICE agents. Why would ICE agents show up at my house? So you get mad when we say they're the Gestapo, but here you are suggesting that they're going to show up in my house because I criticized Trump online. How is that not something the Gestapo would do? Sorry, I lost my place. Well, I'm way behind on the comments again, aren't I? Okay, so great. Where did I go? All right, sorry, I'm just gonna click somewhere. I'm like way behind anyway, so I'm skipped over a bunch of comments. Must excuse him, had to move half his brain out so Trump could move it. What? You pay him rent. It's not like, what does this even mean? This never could figure this one out. Like, what does it mean? Trump lives rent free in my head. Trump is the president of the United States. He's destroying the country. I'm allowed to like be aware of what's happening in my own country and make comments about it. Did Biden prosecute any abusers? I don't know what that has to do with anything. I think that the FBI, Biden never prosecuted anybody. He's not a lawyer or a prosecutor. He never prevented anybody from being prosecuted. And I've said before, the FBI under 4 different presidents ignored and did not do enough. So I don't know what you're trying to say here. There was no open investigation under Biden other than the appeal to Maxwell. That's an FBI decision, not a Biden decision. The investigations were closed after Epstein committed government-assisted suicide. The whole thing is like the whataboutisms don't work here, because I think that they should have been prosecuted. I'm not criticizing Trump and only on this, but are you okay that Trump, under Trump, the investigations were closed after, under Trump, Epstein committed government-assisted suicide? Keep in mind that the files are released in chronological order and strategically done with missing files to make it hard to connect the dots. Yeah, it was very sloppy the way that they were released. And like, it's just if you have like 50 needles and you throw out 3 million haystacks with those 50 needles, it's going to make it a lot harder to find those needles, especially if they're disguised to look like straw. How is that relevant? How many indictments were there under Biden? How is that relevant? How many Epstein files did Biden release? Actually, quite a lot. Before this massive release, most of the files that had been released were released under Biden, until the law that was literally required to release more was passed. Must excuse him. Okay. We're back there. Do we have royalty? Amen. We do have royalty that are in trouble, but no one from the United States yet. Well, the only royalty we have in the United States is the Trump family. See what I did there? That's good that they're spending more to look into it. And I think it's good. I'm glad the states are looking into it. It's always the same Gish Gallop questions to derail. Yes, always. Like, what the bleep does Biden have to do with this? No files were actually, there were files released under Biden. How many? Let me just gonna. They were actually released by court order. But again, Joe Biden did not like actively participate in the Biden investigation or the Epstein investigation in any way. He was never trying to prevent them from being released. During the Biden administration, in early 2024, under Biden, a court ordered unsealing of civil court documents from a prior defamation lawsuit involving Ghislaine Maxwell, settled in 2017. A federal judge ordered their release in 2023, with batches made public starting in January 3rd through 9th, 2024. These included roughly 900 to 950 pages, with additional trenches bringing to total of a few thousand pages at most. But the actual FBI Justice Department files, they couldn't be released. He couldn't legally release them, so he didn't release them. If that makes any sense. It's not about whether he did or didn't do it. It's what was legally allowed to be done. As of right now, Trump's name appears over 1,000 times. Plastic pictures and videos. I don't know what you mean by plastic. Probably spamming. Why do you guys think he tried to stop this with every? That is a valid question. And this is where I think that the whole Biden versus Trump thing, Biden never actively tried to prevent the Epstein files from being released. He never tried to proactively release them. It's just a whole different thing. The legal situation was different. The law, if there was a law that was passed, that how many did Trump release before there was a law passed forcing him to actually do it? And he was president when Epstein committed government-assisted suicide. So you can't just blame it on Biden or just do these whataboutisms. They don't even make sense. When you're a billionaire, it takes longer. Oh, there's so many double entendres places to take that. If it was for you or me, we'd be in prison already. Yes, we would definitely be in prison. So you mean flooding us with Epstein information is a way to keep us from being able to form a formal case? Yeah, I think it's a way to give us so much information and then have enough of it that is suspect that people just dismiss anything because they can people dismiss everything because they can dismiss something. It's like the one thing they just small at it. There's one file that's invalid and therefore everything is invalid. Just like now, anytime a black man is assaulted It's just being faked. Or anytime a black person is the victim of something, then it's fake, it's bogus. That's the MAGA response. Oh, hey. So sorry. Kitty has a couple of things to. So this is a revolting image. I don't even think I can share this because it'll get me. But it's Epstein is fondling a child. And if I share it, then the whole show is going to get demonetized. The whole episode won't be monetized. Okay. So, and then there's this. Let me share this with you. So this is what the urgent DOJ deletes Epstein files again, and they directly implicate Trump. For the second time in just 3 days, the U.S. Department of Justice has removed Major Jeffrey Epstein released files from its own website. The files weren't minor, and they weren't obscure. They were explosive with claims that Trump measured the tightness of little girls' private parts. We saved it all before they deleted. Donald Trump, the president, had parties at Mar-a-Lago called Calendar Girls. Jeffrey Epstein would bring the children in and Trump would auction them off. He measured the children's vulva and vaginas by entering a finger, rated the children on tightness. This is disgusting. The guests were elder men and included Elon Musk, Don Jr., Ivanka Trump, and Eric Trump were there. Attorney Alan Dershowitz, or as I like to call him, Lackowitz, was also there with attorney Bob Shapiro. We were taken in rooms, forced to give oral sex to Donald J. Trump, forced to allow them to penetrate us. I was 13 years old when Donald Trump raped me. Ghislaine Maxwell was also present. So this is a sworn affidavit that they took down. Both documents so this one is a different one, saying kind of the same thing. That year was 1992, and the event was a Calendar Girls. Okay, so this is a Calendar Girl competition, something that George Horway, a Florida-based businessman who ran American Dream Enterprise, had organized at Mr. Trump's request. I arranged to have some contestants fly in, Mr. Horway recalled in an interview on Monday, and at the very first party, I said, "Who's coming tonight? I have 28 girls coming." It was him and Epstein. Mr. Horney, who had just partnered with Dr. Trump to host events at his casino, said he was surprised. I said, "Donald, this is supposed to be a party with VIPs. You're telling me it's you and Epstein?" In fact, that was the case, an indication of a years-long friendship between the president and Mr. Epstein that would some say ended after a failure business arranged between them. The full nature of the eventual evening is not clear. And, this one, I guess if this is from 2016. So, okay, this is from a 2016 article. And this is from, so these are two different sources. This is an affidavit. This is somebody else from a 2016 article. Then you've got these two links are missing. These documents included first-person allegations describing abuse involving underage girls with Trump, and named directly in connection to the Epstein organized events. And In 2016, the New York Times published a report detailing how Donald Trump hosted a calendar girl competition at Mar-a-Lago in 1992, organized by George Horne at Trump's request. According to the Times, Horne recalled that when the contestants arrived, the only guests present were Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. That detail matters because the deleted DOJ files independently referenced calendar girl parties at Mar-a-Lago, creating a troubled overlap between documented historical reporting and allegations later preserved in federal records. The DOJ didn't just delete anonymous clips. It deleted material that intersected with previously reported facts. So that is pretty concerning. Like that indicates that it's not just this uncorroborated allegation. This is a corroborated allegation. And so they released the allegation, and then once they found out this is actually corroborated, they deleted that allegation. Okay. Is this? So then there's this one that shows that this case, newly released documents in the Epstein case alleges Mette Marit, the crown princess of Norway, was pregnant by Epstein. Oh, so this is the one she was talking about, that she got pregnant by Epstein and aborted the child. I cannot imagine. Well, never mind. Where I gotta come back to. Where did. Okay. Trying to. I lost my space, my place. Where's my stream? Okay. There we go. Lost my place. I couldn't find my tab that the StreamYard was in. All right, so let's go back to here. You are going to sit there and tell me all the courts and the times through the courts, and it's a stupid, dumbass idea to think. Except it literally hasn't been through the courts. That's part of the problem. And it's not about whether or not he had anything to do with Epstein Island. And it's not just about him. The problem is none of the people that were involved have been prosecuted except for Maxwell. If you talk about Trump or Clinton only, you're the only problem. Let's agree on that. I think making it about either one is part of the problem. The problem here is that all these women were trafficked. And it's not about Trump and it's not about Clinton. It's about the victims of Epstein. And you have people that want to make it about Clinton and to excuse Trump, and there are people that want to make it about Trump to excuse Clinton or whatever, but it does look like Trump especially was involved. How is Renee Good and Alex doing? Yeah, was that supposed to be funny? Like murder jokes are funny to you? I don't even know what that means. Billionaires made a lot of money off this ring. They don't want it to stop. What's so hard about understanding it? And they definitely don't want to go to jail. Defending and playing a blind eye to wrongdoing doesn't exonerate you from accountability. Correct. Okay, I'm not a human being. It's called innocent until proven guilty. Exactly. Except with Trump, it's always you're guilty and proven. No, that's not anybody. Nobody is saying that. But the problem with you is even the problem with Trump supporters is even after he's proven guilty, you still defend him. He was proven guilty in a court of law, and your response was to go vote for him. I lost my spot again. Sorry. All right, we're just gonna. Somebody, yeah, that's because the investigation was in process during the last administration, hence why the files could not have been released. That's how the legal system works. Start your understanding from there. Oh, you mean where Soros inserted every other DA and state attorney general? I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. I think that maybe some of you people are a little bit too lenient to just, or like, do you think that George Soros is like this all powerful person that's literally micromanaging the DA of every single state and the attorney generals? I mean, you realize that's silly, right? I mean, are you a real, sometimes it's hard to distinguish between just a MAGA troll, an idiot, and a bot. But this is just a dumb comment. George Soros has never appointed any or inserted whatever that's supposed to mean. Breaking, Ghislaine Maxwell now claims that every time that something illegal was happening at an Epstein party, Donald Trump was in the other room reading a Bible, holding Melania's hand. That was funny. At least they finally forced the Democrat judge to release the records. No, that's not what happened. It's just as bad for the underage girls that are working the streets, actually. I imagine it's much worse for those girls working the street. I think anyone that is being forced to have sex underage, it's bad. It's not just an Epstein thing. But with the Epstein thing, what makes it worse is you have billionaires covering up for it. Because of who? Because of Epstein Maxwell? I love how a lot of people don't act like kitty sex is just some new thing, like they haven't been doing it. I don't understand why you think that anybody thinks this is something new. Nobody's saying it is. If you don't get it, you don't get it. You never will. Biden protected abusers. This is not true. You don't have to defend Trump or Biden. Y'all are sick. I don't understand what that's supposed to mean. Biden administration, sex traffic. No, he didn't. We've covered that enough time. That's not true. I don't think any Epstein poop was usable against Trump. They would have used it. Well, that's an opinion. You talk in circles. No, I don't. Sex offenders don't get minimum security. They are deemed Max A status right after sentencing. Max A status means you go to a maximum security prison. And that's where she was until she said that Trump was a good boy. And then she got transferred to a minimum security prison. And Todd Blanche wants us to believe that those things were not connected. Yeah, I'm not stupid. The question is, did Biden ever actively prevent the Epstein info from getting out? He's done. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Joe Biden did not involve himself with the affairs of the Department of Justice. The ones who are supporting Trump are the ones with Trump's arrangement system. Good Lord, if all they can do is parrot his BS without questioning anything and not thinking anything for themselves, it's truly a disease. This guy has dementia. Okay, yes, Trump has dementia. So people say he's playing 4D chess. I say, yeah, he's playing four-dimensional chess. So this right here this is apparently fake. Oh, whoops. Let me. Wow, it might have touched. Oh no, this. Let me. Okay, this is not fake. I don't know. I think. Oh, so something else was a fake. Then she shared this with. Okay. Trying to get this to where the information contained in Donald's New York supporters concerned. We can talk if you like. He cannot release his tax returns. So what are his options? Oh, interesting. So this is a email from Jeffrey Epstein in 2016 about Donald Trump supporters being concerned about his tax returns. That would seem to suggest he still had an ongoing relationship with Donald Trump in 2016. There certainly seems to be like a lot of things that are still worth looking at. Google works, but I can tell you that the files were sealed at the time because Epstein was under investigation. The Maxwell appeal was still going on. Epstein was dead. And nobody talks about why didn't Trump release it after Epstein committed government-assisted suicide? They act like anything changed while Biden was president. Donald Trump had 2 years to release the files. He didn't. Why didn't he release the files from 2004? He didn't. What, the thing you want to say, about Biden, why are you carving out those 4 specific years and not looking at the rest of the time between when he had a sweetheart deal and when he went to prison? Why are you carving out the time after he committed government-assisted suicide? It just all seems to Like, make it about Biden, who had nothing to do with it. They couldn't release because they were still under investigation by the Maxwell appeal. Morons keep asking, why didn't Biden do that? Not that you won't keep asking that question. I even I made a whole YouTube short video out of it. Like, there is an actual answer to that nobody seems to care about. Because they're not looking for an answer, they're looking for an excuse. The reason MAGAs want to say, why didn't Biden release the files, and make up these scenarios where if there was anything in there, then he would have released them, as though Joe Biden personally went through the files for political reasons the way that Donald Trump would have done. No. Joe Biden never looked at the Epstein files. And he never released the Epstein files because he couldn't. This is easily you not the first time you've heard this. But you keep asking it because what you're trying to do is deny what is in the Epstein files and why Trump is fighting releasing the Epstein files. There is clearly some pretty salacious stuff in there about Donald Trump. And this is, again, I thank you for bringing us back to the victims, because that is what this is all about. Over 1,000 women were raped when they were little girls. And not one person who did the raping, and not just, as Patsy was pointing out, it's not just women. It's not just women. It's also boys and girls who were raped and trafficked. It's time to actually want justice for them. It's not get Trump. It's get the abusers, whoever they are. Brett says always. Exactly. I think, and honestly, how can we just not agree on that? Can any MAGA apologist say that everybody who is in the files who either raped children or abetted the raping of children should go to jail for it? Can you just say that without qualifying it? It's that you can't say that is deeply concerning to me. The fact that these people can still try to spread information when the evidence is in BNY right in front of them, BNW right in front of them, is unbelievable. Believe your eyes, not the lies. Well, they've gotten so used to believing the lies that now they have to, if they admit that he lied about one thing, that means they have to admit that he may have been lying about everything. And then if they admit he's been lying about everything and they have been believing all the lies, then they're admitting that they've been stupid for the last 4 years. There was I don't watch SNL. I just saw this clip on a Facebook reel, where there was this mom that was coming out to her children, her 20s children. And she was saying, that she had a confession to make, and it was a big family meeting, and she was admitting that maybe, just possibly, that Donald Trump maybe sometimes lied about things, and the kids keep just going nuts as though, yes, that's what we've been telling you. Anyway, it was a funny skit. I don't know if you've seen it, but that's the thing, is they don't MAGAs just can't admit that they've been duped, because if they admit they've been duped, then that means that all their talk about how stupid the libtards are and all of that kind of stuff, they've been the fools the entire time. MAGA is why America can't have nice things. Did you want to say something there, Patsy? You turned your camera on. I'm just... Wow. She got busy. Got rid of some of the... Oh, wow. I think you kicked off everybody. We don't have, oh, wait. We've got one person left. Hi, Brett. How you doing? I think you got rid of too many people there. You got rid of everybody that was making comments. Oh, well. We got some people again. So, I'm going to go ahead and, oh, whoops, I never I'm going to share the slideshow I made on this that we haven't even looked at yet. Because I think oh, my vertical stream went offline. Oh. Wonder why that is. Let me see if it's... Did it come back online yet? I've been removed for violating YouTube's community guidelines? What the heck? How did I violate community guidelines? Somebody reported me for... Hang on. Apparently, discussing the Epstein files is violating the community guidelines, but only on the vertical stream. What kind of nonsense is that? That's just insane. Well, that kind of makes me mad. So I put in an appeal. Hopefully it'll take the gig off my record. But I didn't. Goodness gracious. Okay. So yeah, it's just me, Patty, and Brett now hanging out. Oh, wow. Well, that is very, very frustrating. Oh. So it might have been because of the mass moderation. Ah. All right. Well, that's really, really frustrating. And they just took took the whole thing off. All right, well, that's a bummer. Think I'll just call things early today then. Oh man. All right, well, you do what you got to do. So hopefully that'll get fixed. Anyway, is anybody's? I'm a little bit sad. I never got a gig before. I just thought if I got a gig, it would be because I was yelling at somebody. All right. So where did, no, I can't find. It's one of those days. Now I can't find my stream. There we are. All right. So yeah, I'm appealing. It says I can, you know, I think I'll do that. It's a good idea. I'm going to try and just restart the stream and because it says I can still live stream. So I'll be back in a minute. Although it might be a different link. Let me try this first. All right. Yeah, I'm going to have to start a different link. So just be watch. Give me about 5 minutes while I get things set up. It's because all the Epstein bros, all the social media, they're giving bans out like candy. Well, the warning said that I could still live stream, so we'll try and do it again. But Kitty, maybe we just don't ban anybody for that one until we're safe and sound again. So give me 5 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and take a potty break while we're at it.